Welcome to THALIR. This is a place called Bud. This is budding forth for a new life, and we are Capuchins working for the renewal of the society and the church. Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, welcome to THALIR Capuchin Online Ministries. This is THALIR Lenten online messages titled 40 Days, 40 Graces. This is offered by Brother Dilip Kumar, a Capuchin friar. It continues with the biblical tradition of 40 days spent by Moses on Mount Sinai and Jesus in the desert. Similarly, these 40 days and 40 graces, with rich scriptural reflections, calls for a transformation. Fr.Dilip Kumar is presently at the friary category in the formation of the major seminarians. He conducts retreats, gives motivational talks, and sessions on counseling and psychology. Here comes Brother Dilip Kumar.
2nd March, Tuesday, Grace 14. Being oneself, the best exhibition of God. A well-built young man saw an advertisement for a job at the zoo. When he went there, he was horrified to find that the only job they had opened was for somebody to play the part of a gorilla. A lot of children were coming in next few days, and the zoo, having no gorilla, needed someone to impersonate. Since money was tight, the man decided he would take the job. He arrived before sunrise, got into the gorilla outfit, and slipped into his cage. Finally, day dawned and the children came. All that he has to do was pensively pace the floor, look rather adept at swinging between the trees, and eat the peanuts and bananas whenever they were fed to him. After 8 or 10 hours, he became thoroughly exhausted. The bananas were getting the better of him. As he swung from one tree to another, rather nauseated, he slipped and fell into the lion's den next door. He shouted, "Help! Help!" The lion leaned over and said, "If we don't shut up, we'll both lose our job." What is the moral of the story, dear friends? Just because it looks like a gorilla and swings like a gorilla does not necessarily mean that it is the one. The same applies in the church. It may look like a Christian and sounds like a Christian, but does not necessarily mean that it is the one. Too often, people wear masks which conceal their true identity. We often hate hypocrisy in others, but we are quite comfortable with it in ourselves. Jesus had a very little tolerance for this. The famous theologian Karl Rahner said, "Those who proclaim God with their mouths and deny Him with their lifestyle are like Pharisees." The Pharisees looked very much like men who honored God, but their behavior showed that this was just a mask. Do not practice what they preach. In 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 16, we read, "Watch your life and doctrine closely. Preserve in them, because if you do, you will save both yourself and your hearers." It is not enough to simply know and preach the truth. You must live it as well. Do you practice what you preach? Does your life and doctrine line up? Avoid living a showcase religion. Jesus takes a special effort to point out how the Pharisees cared more about how other people saw them than about actually living for God. Remember that you are an ambassador of Jesus Christ. You represent the one you serve. That means people will evaluate Jesus by our behavior. Being oneself, the best exhibition of God, is a grace that we have for today. Being oneself demands courage. Being oneself decked with righteousness and virtue will exhibit who our God is. Action of the day: let's be lovable to others and show that our God is a God of love. Remember that when you leave this earth, you can take with you nothing that you have received, only what you have given, a full heart enriched by honest service, love, sacrifice, and courage.